Lesson 11 is the final step before we actually show an example and start editing. So what we're going to do here is get familiar with the camera angles. Depending on how many you might have one only. Well, this is going to be really easy. Go ahead, skip to the next step. If you have multiple camera angles, I'm going to show you kind of how to hide them, which one should be on top, which one should be on bottom. I should have gone over that by now. And then we're going to move forward with editing. So this is the final step before we get started with editing. Let's get started, okay? Step number one, of course, is to just become familiar with the camera angles. So they're all synchronized, and we can hide or show layers by clicking on these eyes here, all right? So we have one of the co-hosts right here on the top, okay? We can hide that layer to see the reaction and facial expression of what's going on with the host below, right? We can hide that layer and we can see now camera angle 1, and we can hide that layer and we can see the wide shot. All right. So now that we're ready to start, let's find our starting point. Okay. There's a few different ways to navigate, through this podcast. One of which is just looking at the audio waves. So as you can see here, there's just occasionally someone talking. Usually that's kind of a good point to assume that the start is close. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Good to go? All right. So today we're talking about power training, what it is, when to do it, when not to do it, who should be doing it, who shouldn't be doing it.
All right. So that is our start point. We can go ahead and press I. So you will see that I am going to be pressing I and O. I is going to be the start point, and O is going to be the end point. So we have our start point. We can go ahead and press C, okay, for our razor tool, or we can click on the razor tool, hold down the shift key, and we can cut everything before the podcast starts. Move that over to the left. There might be some funny clips in here, for example, so we might want to save this. But we're just going to start editing the initial podcast. All right.